Welcome back to Arsenal News TV, and today we're going to look at 4 things spotted from the Gunners' 1-1 draw with Slavia Prague in the Europa League quarter-final first leg at the Emirates Stadium. So the first thing on the list is Arsenal missed their chance again. Liverpool aside, it's difficult to think of an Arsenal game in 2021 where they haven't passed up a huge opportunity to score. If you want to go back as to the 0-0 draw with Manchester United at the end of January, Willre and Nicolas Pepe spurning huge opportunities to claim all 3 points. Against Wolves, Bukayo Saka missed a couple, while Martin Odegaard could easily have rescued a point in the defeat to Aston Villa. Those are the ones that spring to mind immediately, but a little bit of research will surely reveal countless other times this season where the Gunners will be wondering what might have been. Tonight, it was Alexandre Lacazette. He was the guilty party scoping a one-on-one onto the bar despite having all the time in the world and poking an effort wide on the stretch from inside the 6-yard box. Bukayo Saka could and should have also put his team in front of the first half, but the England international spurned wide when in on goal. The breakthrough did eventually come from Nicolas Pepe 5 minutes from time, but with the amount of clear-cut chances Arsenal had on the night, they should have been well ahead. It's not as if the quality of their performance merited a more sizable lead going into stoppage time of the match, but elite teams are ruthless enough to capitalise on any opportunity they are given, no matter how they have been playing. Speaking after the game, Mklotz was once again left to rue his side's inefficiency in front of the goal. Very disappointed because I think we made it much worse with the big chances that we created, said the Spaniard. We should have scored more goals, for sure. And once we had the results, we conceded a corner after not managing well the situation and conceding from there, which is a big blow. In Europe, you're not going to have 10 chances against a top opponent. When you have those big chances, you have to put them in the net. You want to give yourself the big chance to go through in the competition. Today, we haven't done that. Mikel Arteta is right in his assessment of his side's display. In a sport as low-scoring as football, taking chances when they arrive is absolutely crucial. Of course, the Gunners can't be expected to put everyone away, but they will have to up their conversion rates if they are to have any chance of progressing to the levels they are capable of. So the next thing on the list is Mikel Arteta's plan fails. Ahead of the game, Mikel Arteta made the huge call to drop his captain PierreEmerick Aubameyang for one of Arsenal's biggest games of the season. The Gabon forward has been in poor form recently, but it was still one to raise eyebrows. Willre was also given the nod on the left ahead of Gabriel Martinelli in another bold decision that seemed a strange one to outsiders. Speaking ahead of the game, though, the Gunners both revealed it was all part of his grand plan for the 90 minutes ahead. We had to pick the right team to try to start the game the best possible way, and as well have the options to change the game because Europe gives you the possibility to make 5 subs, and that's a big thing, and we want to use our full squad in the best possible way, he said. 60 minutes in though, and it seemed the choice wasn't working. Arsenal struggled to really lay down a glove on Slavia Prague, who had very little to do to keep the game at 0-0, with Alexandre Lacazette and Willre in particular offering very little in terms of attacking impetus. The game seemed to be crying out for a change, and with Mikel Arteta's pre-match declaration, it seemed a matter of time before that would be the case. And yet Mikel Arteta chose to delay the change. Another 5 minutes went by, then 10, and it seemed there was no switch incoming. It wasn't until the 73rd minute when Martinelli was finally introduced, while Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Nicolas Pepe had to wait until the 78th to be allowed to enter the fray. The game instantly changed for the better from an Arsenal perspective as the Gunners finally began to show the urgency and directness that a game of that magnitude merited. When Nicolas Pepe calmly put them ahead 5 minutes from time, it seemed as though Mikel Arteta's master plan had worked. Football though, as we already discussed, is a game of fine margins, and when Thomas Holes flicked in a stoppage time away goal for the Czech champions, it was no surprise that the Spaniard had to face questions on why he hadn't made the changes sooner in his post-match press conference. Well, we made them when we believed it was the right time to do it. And when they changed their setup, and we believed we could hurt them and not earlier, he said in response. Whether should have done it before then, who knows? It could be argued that Mikel Arteta was slightly let down by the game management of his players in achieving the objectives he had set with before the game. Cedric Soares and Gabriel Magalhaes could easily have cleared the ball in the build-up to the corner from which Slavia Prague got the equaliser. As the full-time whistle blew, Granit Xhaka was heard shouting and swearing clear the ball man, and the Portuguese left-back, before exchanging strong words with Rob Holding, as Arsenal's frustrations at their inability to see the game out threatened to boil over. But ultimately the task of game management falls at the feet of the manager, and perhaps if Mklotz had made the chances earlier and the changes earlier, the Gunners wouldn't have been in a position where they needed to defend a 1-0 goal against going into the final minute of the match. The Spaniard is still a very young manager, but the failure to be proactive enough when plan A clearly wasn't working cost him on the night. It's a lesson from which he will have to learn quickly. So the next thing on the list is PierreEmerick Aubameyang shows why he's not the next Mesut Ozil. Earlier in the week, parallels were drawn between PierreEmerick Aubameyang and Mesut Ozil as the Gabon forward's form continued to falter this season. The argument in favour of that perception was not at all helped by the fact that come kickoff, Arsenal's most influential and highest paid player found himself on the bench for one of the Gunners' biggest game of the season. Like the German was guilty of doing at times, it would have been easy for Aubameyang to have sulked at that decision. His performances after coming on, however, would have gone a long way to putting the comparisons to bed. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, it seemed as though he was fired up and looking to provide a reaction that had been sorely lacking after his initial return following Mklotz decision to drop him in the North London derby due to disciplinary issues. An early chance was poked just wide of the post that he probably could have done better with just moments after coming on, and not long after his perfectly weighted pass through to Nicolas Pepe looked briefly as though it would be enough to win the game for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. The Gunners' captain's relationship with his manager has been called into question in recent times, and speaking after the game, Mikel Arteta did admit that he had explained to PierreEmerick Aubameyang why he was chosen ahead to play Alexandre Lacazette up top instead. However, signs of healing the rift were there as the Spaniard praised the skipper for the quality of his late cameo. Well, I cannot talk to everyone individually every week, but we try to be transparent and communicate with the players as clearly as possible for them to understand the role they have in the game. He said of the decision to leave the 31-year-old out. When he came on, he showed the right attitude and the right commitment. Going into the game against Sheffield United on Saturday, it seems as though the Gabon forward could be given his chance from the off. A goal there, and all talk of the Mesut Ozil comparisons may quickly become water under the bridge. So the final thing on the list is Kieran Tierney's absence is felt. Going into the game, one of the most intriguing selection dilemmas Mklotz had to be contend with was how over he was going to fill the huge void created by the absence of Kieran Tierney. The Scots was ruled out to 4 to 6 weeks after sustaining a knee injury in the defeat to Liverpool on Saturday. So influential has he been to the Arsenal attack this season, creating more chances from open play than any other member of the squad. And Mklotz admitted before the match that the Gunners were going to have to change their whole approach to the game against Slavia Prague without him. It seemed to be a straight shootout between Cedric Soares and Bukayo Saka for who would be asked to fill in out of position at left back. The 19-year-old offered the closest thing to Kieran Tierney's irreplaceable offensive threat with overlapping runs beyond the left inside forward, but Cedric Soares provided more defensive solidity as a specialist fullback. In the end, it was a Portuguese international who Mklotz went for, and curiously, by having youngster Joe Lopez, an orthodox left-back who has done well for the under-23s this season, on the bench, the Arsenal boss seems to be making a statement of intent that he viewed Bukayo Saka's future as an attacking option rather than a defensive one. Although the England international did provide the Gunners' best threat for most of the game down the right, it was a decision that ultimately proved to hinder the side going forward. Cedric Soares did a good job of getting forward when he could, but his balls into the box on his weaker foot when in his final third was not a patch on the consistently high quality delivery we have grown accustomed to from Kieran Tierney. With a slightly less daunting task in Sheffield United coming up this weekend, perhaps Mikel Arteta will be tempted to put Saka back in his left back position where he did so well at the beginning of 2020 as he seeks to explore alternative ways to cope with the Scottish fullback's loss. Try it as he might though, not having left Tierney in the left-hand side for this crucial stage of the season may well be looked back as a defining moment in Arsenal's campaign. But other than that guys, remain blessed, stay tuned for the next video and peace.